Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Salam alaikum. Boker Tov. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome you all to the UAE-Israel Business Meet. I'm honored and privileged to welcome the Israeli Directors Union, the distinguished Israeli delegates, and the speakers to Kreston Menon headquarters in Dubai. I'm also pleased and honored to welcome all our UAE speakers and the delegates from UAE to our offices. We are honored by your presence. I especially welcome the chairman of the delegation, Ehud Menepes, Mrs. Hadar, the deputy CEO of IDU, Michelle, the CEO of IDU, and the founder of IDU, Neil Echensky. Today is also a very special day for us. We are celebrating the UAE Flag Day. And it's a double celebration for us this year because UAE is celebrating its Golden Jubilee. So at 11 a.m. sharp, we race for the UAE National Anthem. I'm Sudhir Kumar, Senior Partner and Head Corporate Communications, Kreston Menon. I'm based in the UAE for the last 30 years. And I'm informed by my team that we have more than 200 plus registrations in the Zoom and more in the waiting room. The historic UAE-Israel deal had ushered in a new era. It has opened a new chapter. It's a pivot of history. It reflects the new reality, and it heralds in a new dawn and a new tomorrow. In the book, My Vision, Challenges in the Race for Excellence, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and the ruler of Dubai, says, we have succeeded because we always believed tomorrow is a new day and yesterday's achievements are in the past. And history will only record what we will achieve in the future, not what we have achieved in the past. UAE had officially invited His Excellency Naftali Bennett, the Prime Minister of Israel, to visit the UAE. And the visit is expected very soon. And that visit will drive our relationship to the next level. UAE and Israel signed the Abraham Accord on September 15, 2020. Within 90 days, all the major agreements have been signed, like visa-free travel, direct flights, setting up mutual, both sides embassies, investment protection, dual taxation avoidance, and so many. It's now 410 days after the signing of the agreement, and $900 million have been transacted between UAE and Israel. 200,000 Israelis have visited the UAE. The bilateral trade is expected to touch $4 billion in 2023. UAE had set up a $3 billion Abraham Fund for investments in private sector. And UAE had also set up a $10 billion fund by the government to invest in specific sectors in Israel, like the space tech, the deep tech, the fintech, agri-tech, and many areas. And UAE as such, in 410 days, the discussions are all on cooperation on the new areas. UAE Space Agency talking to Israeli Space Agency for the new lunar mission for Israel. Mubadala is invested 1.2 billion in Israeli gas, and drone trafficking on medical supplies and healthcare is being discussed between UAE and Israel. UAE had announced 100% ownership, foreign ownership of investments in UAE, and also the visa reforms for talent attraction and talent retention. I'm very happy to say that Kreston Menon had brought in one of the major investments, huge investments, global investment to UAE, which is one of the first in healthcare and life sciences. 93-year-old brand Himalaya was talking to us a year back for thinking about moving to UAE. And in another 10 months, they have moved their global headquarters to Dubai. They have moved their global holding office to Dubai. They are setting up their global R&D center, which brings in a lot of skilled people to this country. And that is 110,000 square foot of space in Dubai. And the global manufacturing hub, which is 350,000 square foot of space, which is under construction. We worked with Dubai FDI, Mr. Ibrahim Ali and the team, the CEO, His Excellency Fahad Al-Gargawi, and the Dubai Department of Economic Development also. And it was a seamless setting up of this office. So such is the effectiveness in setting up a business in Dubai. On the visa regulation, UAE has set up the golden visas, which are 10-year residency visas, which are given to investors, entrepreneurs, coders, STEM people, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, to entertainers, artists, sports people, as well as people in philanthropy. Now, a quick 2-minute on Kreston Menon. Kreston Menon is set up in 1994. We started with 2 people, and we have now reached 300 people. We have 9 offices in UAE. We are opening our 10th office next month at the Abu Dhabi Global Market. In fact, a couple of days back, they had a very good reception by the Abu Dhabi government, the Israeli delegation, and we had a full-day conference with Abu Dhabi Global Market. Can we go to the next, please? Yeah. We are part of Kreston Global, which is headquartered in London, ranked number 13 in the world as an auditing and accounting company. And we are present with almost all the countries with 700 offices all across. 22,000 professionals work all over the world. Can we go to the next, please? Yeah. UAE ranking by International Accounting Bulletin 2020, we are ranked 6th next to the big 4. Can we go next? We are very, in our DNA, it is there. We are ethnic diversity. We have 15 nationalities, 40% gender equality, youth empowerment, 71%, and we are going green. We are definitely trying our level best to go green, and employment opportunities for differently abled, people of determination. And we are a super brand for the last 8 years continuously. We are part of Forum of Firms, ACCA, ICAEW, and Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And we cover all the services, audit and assurance services, corporate governance, business advisory, financial accounting, training and career development, corporate finance, company registration, compliance and anti-money laundering, very focused with banks, bookkeeping and accounting, technology consulting, and ICV, in-country value for the national in-country value. Covers all the industries. We transport, government sector. We work with all of these companies across UAE. It's been 28 years. There are no other company which I would say we are not working. At this moment, I must also mention about a gentleman who has been tirelessly working with us, even 1 month before the Abraham Accord was signed. And he is responsible for whatever relationship we happen now and whatever events. We have done 3-4 events with all across Israel and Dubai, and in Zoom as well as physical events. And he is none other than Doron Rosenblum. He is the managing partner of Kreston IL. He is our partner in Israel, and welcome, Doron. Thank you for all your support. I must also say that the Israeli delegation has a considerable amount of women participation, business women who are part of the delegation, which is very interesting to see. In fact, it's been appreciated all over. In fact, we also, from our side, tried women speakers today, but unfortunately, Expo 2020 is happening, and two schedules in the morning time is very difficult. So we didn't get UAE national women speakers, but I must say that women play a very important role in the development drive of UAE right from the beginning. Women comprise 70% of His Highness team. 66% of the public sector jobs are taken by women. 30% of the decision-making, high-end jobs are taken by women here. And also, women, UAE is #1 in the representation of women in parliament. 50% of the 40 Federal National Council members are women. Also, we have women in the very high level as ministers. We have 9 ministers who hold very important portfolios who are part of the cabinet. We have Her Excellency Sara Al-Amiri, who is the Minister for Science and Technology and the Space Program. We have Her Excellency Reem Ibrahim Al-Hashmi, who is the Minister for State and the Managing Director of Expo 2020. We have Her Excellency Uhud Al-Rumi, who is the Minister for Development and Future. We have Her Excellency Maital Shamsi, who is the Minister for State. We have Her Excellency Jamila Al-Muheri, who is the Minister for Education. We have Her Excellency Mariam Al-Muheri, who is the Minister for Food. We have Her Excellency Noura Al-Kabi, who is the Minister for Knowledge and Culture. We have Her Excellency Shamsa Al-Mazrui, who is the Minister for Youth. We have Her Excellency Hessa Bu Humaid, who is the Minister for Community Development. So we have 9 ministers who carry all the major portfolios. And so from all of us at Kreston Menon, all of us sitting here, and from me personally, we, with deep respect, we acknowledge your presence here. Permit me to borrow the words of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Vice President and Prime Minister of the UAE and the ruler of Dubai. His Highness says, the future belongs to those who can imagine it, design it, and execute it. It isn't something you await, rather create. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome you all once again. Let's start the journey to the future. I wanted to mention one more thing. Doing Business in Dubai book is a publication published by Kreston Menon. It's published once in 2 years. And this year we waited, and we were waiting now, and we have just published. The book is, first people who are seeing the book are you people. And this book is fully endorsed by the government of Dubai and the Department of Economic Development. The CEO of Business Registration Licensing at the Dubai Department of Economic Development checks and verifies and endorses the book. The content is prepared fully by Kreston Menon, and this book is widely circulated to all the delegations. And the important part is we have in the book a very special foreword by His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Said Al Maktoum, part of the royalty in Dubai. Also, we have a special message by the Director General of the Ruler's Office, His Excellency Mohammed Al Shabani, who has endorsing the book, and a message by the Director General of the Dubai Department of Economic Development. While you are going out, you will all get the book in a kit, which is be given while you go. Welcome you all once again to Dubai. Let's move forward. And Toda Rabba, Shukran, thank you. Now, can I take this opportunity to welcome Raju Menon, Chairman and Managing Partner, Kreston Menon.
Dear business delegates from Israel, our distinguished speakers, my fellow team members, good morning to you all. I thank IDU, the Israel Directors Union, for partnering with us for this exclusive business meet, where we will be discussing avenue for cooperation as well as on what UAE have to offer. In September 2020, the world woke up to the unexpected and astounding news of the peace treaty between UAE and Israel, making UAE just the 3rd Arab state to establish diplomatic trade ties and Israel after Egypt and Jordan, As an investment facilitator, Kreston Menon excitedly welcomed the Abraham Accords as the treaty aimed at bringing the two most vibrant, young and modern economies together. In the past 1 year, we saw immense enthusiasm and the business community is expecting an influx of trade in the next 2 years. We have already seen major investments in food, agriculture, healthcare, aviation, water, energy sectors. Recently, it was disclosed in the UAE has signed more than 60 memorandums of association understandings with Israel since normalizing relations after 2020. And the countries are seeking to grow the economic ties to more than $1 trillion over the next decade. It's an honor for us to host the business meet where the Israeli delegates can not only hear from the top executives of government agencies, free zones, financial firms, and professional service providers, but also personally interact with them. Kreston Menon and our Israeli counterpart, Kreston IL, are already working together to support businesses who are interested to tap the opportunities in the Israeli and UAE market. As we are active in India and has offices and access to all major cities in India, we will be looking forward to supporting businesses who are keen to explore options thrown open by the Israeli-UAE-India corridor. The leaderships of the countries are keen to strengthen the trilateral relations with the common goal of promoting business cooperation, mutual investments, and scaling of business activities. I hope today's interaction will help our esteemed delegates make the right business decisions. Thank you so much.
I would like to invite Dr. Gdp Contribution, Chairman Club IDU.
Well, I'm proud to say that I'm the chairman of the chairman club or chairman person. We're actually very proud to have a CEO, which is also a female, for the IDU Institute Union. Michal is here. And I was very glad to hear your attitude towards women and about the diversity, the gender diversity in your decision-making process. But let me start from the beginning. I'm very excited to be here, and I want to thank all of you, honored hostess and generous and dear old and new friends. So as you know, when everything just started, then Abraham Accords were signed, and we decided to reach out. We at the IDU decided to reach out to our colleagues and potential partners here in the UAE, the first ones to offer and actually provide their help and support were Doron and Kreston Menon. And your skills, your experience, your deep knowledge definitely helped us in building this bridge and partnerships. In the last couple of days, we are talking about innovation, we're talking about corporate governance, and of course, it's really important. But if you talk to successful business persons, you will find out that the most important thing is choosing your partners and advisors, and choosing the ones that have the same set of values and that actually give you the respect and you can respect them, are the ones that will help you to reach that success. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Gdp. I would like to invite Professor Ehud Menepes, who is the chairman of the IDU. And if I may go on reading, he is the professor emeritus at Ben-Gurion University at Negev. He served as the founding chair of the IRA's Business Center, Technology and Society. And I'll go down. Professor Menepes has over 200 academic outputs covering many universities. Welcome, Dr. Menepes.
Good morning. Mr. Kumar Sudhir, Mr. Menon, Rashid, and some other good people I've just met this morning, I have to tell you that your hospitality is impeccable. And I have to share with you, before I talk about econometric metrics and other very important issues, I've checked you out as I have arrived to the first hotel in the UAE. And I did what I do in every other city in the world which I land in. I did the safety deposit box test. The safety deposit box test basically is checking what height is the safety deposit box in your hotel room. In many of the hotel rooms you find in the very advanced countries like the United States of America, the safety deposit box is basically on the floor, and we have to crawl in order to put our valuables there. I found out that your safety deposit boxes, which I met now twice, are at the right height and very comfortable for people in my age. It's a symptom, but it's an important symptom. Since I've arrived here only 48 hours ago, me and my colleagues here from Israel all are laudatory about your forward thinking, about the infrastructure that you have developed, about your dreams, which you have imagined, and about your orientation towards execution. Before coming to this room this morning, I checked out a document called UAE Centennial Vision 2071, 50 years forward. And I went through this important document talking about hub of business, industrial strategy, clean energy, etc. And I also found out some 3 key words which I liked very much. There was this keyword of education being first on the list, which I liked very much. I found out the word technology, which we've spoken about already for 2 days or so. And I noticed the word entrepreneurship. And if you put together education, technology, and entrepreneurship, most probably you'll be reaching places. Because we as a country, now existing for just over 70 years, found these to be essential elements in our success story. You are only 50 years or so after independence, right? And when you look at the measures, the macroeconomic measures of UAE, it is really most impressive. Actually, last I checked, you have reached a GDP and GDP per capita, which surpasses Israel by about 30% or so. You've been in existence for 50 years, we've been in existence for over 70 years. That's commendable. I also noticed that your World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking is great. Actually, I don't want to admit that, much better than Israel, which is commendable. I've checked your competitiveness index by my friends from Davos, the Economic Forum, and it's quite impressive. Actually, if I am correct, we are ranked the same, 5.2 out of 7, scale of 7. You've reached it in 50 years, we have reached it in 72 years. That's commendable. So you ask yourself, what else do you need in order to become as great as you strive to be? Well, we've been following, myself and my colleagues, the UAE economy for the last 23 years. While business relationship was struck as early as 2010, before the Abraham Accords, we've been following you for 23 years. And here's an interesting thing. We are very similar in a way of cultural and social norms on a scientific scale. We're very similar in a way of physical infrastructure. There is a difference, though, between us on this particular dimension of government policy support and relevance. You know who is ranked better regarding government policy support and relevance? Maybe you know, Mr. Kumar? Israel or UAE? Well, I have to tell you, you are much better in, this is a scientific determination, empirically tested in 100 countries or so, government policy support and relevance. You're ranked just about 60–70% better than us, which is impressive. So we have lots to learn from you. Let me suggest that in an article, an editorial I published just after the Abraham Accords were announced, I claimed that we have lots of similar traits as a country, as a people, as a culture. Also, the title of this editorial was Father Abraham, the Entrepreneur. I find you, the UAE, a great partner. Has been already for a while, before the Abraham Accords. Now that is official, I like to think that we are called to execute, as you said, execute. One last word about execution. You at Kreston, Menon, you are an audit consulting company. You are very important in execution. We can talk high words and we know that there is the potential, but you as Kreston Menon have now a very important job of making it a reality. So on the one hand, you have to make sure that your hours are chargeable and collectible. As you know, this is what we do in audit and consulting, but you also have to make sure that we get all the support, both of our people, in our desire to become true partners and grow together. I want to thank Kreston Menon for a great hospitality. We want to thank you very much for your visit that you've done to Abu Dhabi to listen to us, right? We really appreciate that. And we're really looking forward to work with you. I think Doron then has a very important job now to be a major go-between. Doron, thank you for doing a great job here. We really appreciate it. Let me tell you that as the chairman of the International Advisory Boards of IDU, and as a chairman of the National Association of Israel of Engineers and Architects, I'm looking forward to a great partnership. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor Ehud Menipes. I fully endorse what you said. Also, UAE and Israel has many similarities. If you take the UAE population, we have 9.8 million and Israel population is 9.2 million. The UAE GDP is $420 billion and the Israel GDP is $410 billion. In UAE, we have 450,000 SMEs and in Israel has got 550,000 SMEs. Our weather conditions are almost similar, travel times are nearby, so we have many similarities. I think definitely we will scale higher in the future. I would like to invite Mr. Shmulek bin Tovim, who is the president of the FinTech community of Israel and member of the International Advisory Committee, IDU. He was with the Economic Development Funds, Israeli Institution for Smart Cities, Israel EU Chamber of Commerce, and Israeli Ministry of Economy, representative in the US, board member at BESEC, and many, and entire FinTech community. It's a huge community, very interesting community, very active community, team of great millennials with ideas and which can turn to unicorns. Your floor is yours, Mr. Shmulek.
Good morning. Salam alaikum. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Kreston, both in Israel, our dear friend Doron, and the local people. You know, Sudhir is one of the friends that I call the framed friends of mine, because till today I only have seen him on the frame of the Zoom, and now I see him for real. So I really appreciate all of you and the distinguished guests here, especially the representative of Dubai FDI, your boss, Mr. Gagawi, who have had many occasions to discuss the opportunities. So it is really a pleasure to be here. It's an exciting moment. And I would like to tell you a few words about the Israeli fintech industry, because about all the rest you've already heard and you'll hear more so. So as you know, Israel prides itself of being the startup nation. We are the people with great technological achievements in many areas, and fintech is no exception, because fintech requires technology, requires AI, requires excellent programmers, and we have all of them. So in the very small, relatively state of Israel, we have today close to 700 fintech companies. Some of them are in the early stages. Many of them has grown up to become world leaders or unicorns, as we call them today, all over the world. So this is our great advantage, and this is what we bring to the table also when we come to the UAE. But it will be advisable, and that's what we do, to look where are your advantages in the fintech area. And we have already identified two major areas in which, like my friend Ehud said before, you're doing much better than us. First of all is regulations. Your financial regulations is more advanced than ours. We are on the way to be there, but maybe because we have more established interest in legacy banks and insurance companies, and also because our political system is not something that we are very proud of, and it makes changes a bit more, taking more time than yours. So we feel that there is a regulatory arbitrage that we can take advantage of. For instance, for Israeli tech companies coming and using the sandbox of the UAE. The other advantages you have over us is that Dubai and the UAE are more advanced financial centers than Israel, bigger and more elaborate. We have to admit it. The international presence of all the major players in the international financial markets are more vivid here than in Israel. So if we are talking about playing ground or testing ground, I think that the financial community of the UAE offers us an excellent opportunity. Where is the difficulties? I think that we should admit that our business cultures are different. Israelis like to do everything immediately, if not yesterday. They don't have patience. You are people who are well known for long-range planning, and we have to bridge this gap. And I want to end up by an old story that I like telling when talking about cultural differences. Someone decided to do a global service with one question. Excuse me, sir or madam, this is a public opinion survey. Is there a shortage of wheat in your country? So first they went to North Korea. In North Korea, people ask, what is a public opinion survey? We haven't heard about it. Then they went to India, and someone asked them, what is meat? What is beef? We don't know anything about it. And then they came to the United States of America. And there they asked them, what is shortage? We have never heard about it. And then they came to Israel. And in Israel, they asked, what is, excuse me? So here we are facing those differences that we have to bridge. We have to learn more about each other. And I'm sure that fintech will be one of the leading common grounds of cooperation between our countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Schmilk, for your advice. We definitely in Dubai and UAE will be collaborating more with the fintech community, because there's a lot of interest for the free zones and for Dubai as fintech. Now I welcome Mr. Pushpan, who is our senior partner and head for incorporation services, to do his speech on the 100% ownership laws of UAE.
Good morning. Welcome to Dubai. Welcome to Kreston Menon. Dear delegates, respected guests, my colleagues, all the attendees. This small topic, of course, is not rather small, but considering the time constraint what Mary is looking from there, this is a new initiative by the UAE government as part of their policy on liberalizing the business in UAE. The background of this proposition goes back to 1984, 88, and eventually in 2015. The mainland companies, or we call it as onshore, were regulated by the UAE Commercial Companies Law as per the law number 2 of 2015. As per the 2015 law, it is required or mandatory to have 51% UAE national shareholding. In some cases, the UAE nationals act as active shareholders, but in some cases, they are just acting as notional shareholders. This was to some extent a constraint for investors to come and invest in the mainland on major projects. So in 2018, the UAE government introduced a law called UAE FDI law, but it didn't really succeed. So in 2020, November, the new law came called the new federal decree that's allowing 100% ownership, or in other words, removing the mandatory requirement of 51% shareholding by a UAE national in a local company. The commercial company laws offers many legal structures, but however, the commercial companies or the limited liability company is the most common type of legal structure being followed. So in the law of the decree of 2020 removed this restriction, wherein a foreign legal person or natural person can come and set up an entity in Dubai proper without equity participation of a UAE national. However, there are certain aspects or certain segments which are of strategic importance, and these have to be decided on a case-to-case basis. So the major elements or major aspects coming to that part is, say, defense, communication, banking, commercial agency, fisheries related, etc. So these areas still might require or might not require UAE national participation, subject to the respective Emirates decision. And when this was introduced, Dubai was the first Emirate, Abu Dhabi was the first Emirates which introduced this provision, wherein almost 1,000 plus activities were allowed for 100% foreign ownership. And Dubai followed with almost same numbers of activities, and later on all the other Emirates. So what exactly changed considering or comparing the 2018 FDI law? There is no minimum capital requirement for 100% ownership now, but in earlier 2018 FDI law, it was some requirement where it starts from 5 million to 100 million dirhams investment. Physical investment was to be shown. So that's why Sudhir mentioned a conglomerate of Himalaya, wherein they had to commit at least a 20 million investment in a span of 5 years' time. But that kind of constraint has now been removed, wherein any amount or any investment is okay for getting a 100% foreign ownership. In the earlier FDI law, there was an Emiratization quota requirement that's also removed. And the foreign company branch, which is suppose a foreign company wants to set up a branch over here, they had to have a UAE national as a service agent. That requirement also has been removed by the new decree of 2020. And of course, each Emirate can decide what percentage of UAE national ownership has to be given. So accordingly, it can be done. And what actually the impact of this change? The major impact is now the foreign investors can decide more capital infusion, because there is no
third party, or rather a passive investor is in the picture. So accordingly, he can invest whatever the amount to improve his business. And of course, this is going to improve the UAE's position as one of the most sought after investment destination. And it is going to enhance the position of UAE as one of the comfortable and more appropriate jurisdiction for investment. And of course, during the COVID-19 period, many of the countries were reluctant and they didn't really appreciate foregoing investments or rather bringing more investments. But UAE has given this kind of strategic steps wherein they can bring more investors and they can give a comfort that Middle East economy is still vibrant and people can come and invest here. And of course, Expo is being happening. And this initiative will definitely encourage the investors who are visiting Expo 20 can take at least some decisions, okay, this is possible or not. And of course, this is going to have a major impact in bringing more import business to UAE, and accordingly, the more business activities are also going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pushpin. Now, I like to invite Ibrahim Ali, the Director Investment for Dubai FDI, the main arm for the government of Dubai. Ibrahim Ali is in business for the last more than 20 years. He's been with the Dubai Tourism, Commerce, Marketing. He's been with the government. Yes, in the marketing, branding, and the investment side, he's an expert. We have traveled all across the world promoting Dubai, and he's one of the best speakers. And Dubai Advantage talks in depth on what Dubai can offer. Welcome, Ibrahim.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Shalom. I'm trying to improve my Hebrew, so. So dear, you are saying that I'm one of the best speakers. The last presentation physically, I'm so proud. The last presentation physically that I've given was in Tokyo, February 2020. And since then, obviously, March, April, and May, we went into, everybody knows, the lockdowns and the restrictions. And then the presentation became that I had to deliver online. So that is the webinars. So from June last year, I've delivered 52 presentations and 52 webinars. So this is little odd for me to come back physically and see my best friends from the free zones, Jebel Ali Free Zone, Dubai Airport Free Zone, Commerce City, and obviously see an audience. This is something amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, I represent the Dubai Investment Development Agency, which is Dubai FDI, as we call ourselves. It's an agency under the Department of Economic Development of Dubai government. And I'd like to present the Dubai Advantage, which I was told is 10 minutes by Sudhir, but I'm not sure if it will be 10 minutes or more. So I just need to click OK. So let's just go quickly and talk about Dubai. First of all, welcome to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to Dubai, United Arab Emirates. And I hope your mission here will be successful and you will have an excellent impression of our country. So Dubai as a city will showcase the GDP. There was a lot said by Sudhir and the rest, but here I'll just like to showcase the GDP contribution into the Dubai's economy for 2019. The majority goes into the wholesale, which is 26.6%, and retail. We are very big in retail here, hospitality, tourism, and food and beverage sector. Then goes into the storage and transportation of almost 13%, because we are the logistics hub for the whole of this region. Almost 10% goes into the financial and insurance activities. You will notice here that there is nothing mentioned on, for the GDP's contribution from the oil and gas, because it's only 2%. Dubai number of visitors, obviously for the year 2019, you see it was the glory year. I'm sure it was the glory year for every country in the world and every economy. We had 16.73 million visitors who stayed at hotels and hotel apartments. However, for the 2020, with the restrictions and lockdowns across the borders of the world, different countries, we still managed to have 5.5 million visitors last year. And for this year, from January to August, we already had 3.23 million visitors. And obviously, you've seen the visitors number for the Expo 2020, it went to 2.5 million visitors. Dubai as a gateway, we are the gateway to the Arabian Gulf, the Middle East, definitely the perfect gateway to the continent of Africa, the Indian subcontinent, and the CIS markets. So if you travel from Dubai within the 5 hours radius, you reach to 2.4 billion consumers. This is a perfect direct market in our region. And if you reach 7 hours by flight, then you have the third of the world's population. We are very happy to have the direct flights between Dubai and Tel Aviv. So that's Fly Dubai, Air Israel, and also hopefully and Etihad Airways. Hopefully we will have soon our also national airline, the Emirates airline, that will fly from Dubai to Tel Aviv. So everybody is waiting for that news, and probably you will hear that within a month or two, as I was told by the sources from Emirates. Dubai being the hub, we are the hub for the logistics, the shipping, and obviously we are hosting currently Expo 2020. Was supposed to be held last year. Because of the COVID-19, it had to be postponed for this year. So this is going to be for the duration of 6 months, connecting minds, creating the future, with the sub-themes being the mobility, sustainability, and opportunity. So obviously the expectation that we had was that we will have 25 million visitors that will go through the Expo gates. I'm sure it won't happen personally, I feel, but if it reaches 15 million for the 6 months, then we have done a huge success, because during the COVID-19, things do slow down around the world. We are open for business, as you can see in Dubai. So we don't have restrictions. However, it's so many different countries in Europe or East, in Asia, that they don't allow their own citizens to travel. But we are happy to have you here from Israel. So we look forward to have more visitors coming from Israel soon. Number of passengers that went through the Dubai International Airport, which you arrived, and the second airport is called Al Maktoum International Airport, DWC. It's in the glory year, again, 2019, we had 88 million passengers. That is Dubai Airport being, at that time, the #1 international passengers airport. Obviously, the #1 airport in terms of the passengers is Atlanta Airport in the USA. However, 80% of that is domestic. So we don't have any domestic here. So you see here from the statistics, 14.8 million passengers went through the airport in 2020, despite the lockdowns and the closure of the borders. The infrastructure in Dubai, as you can see around, if you have been here now almost 2 days, and you will spend the rest of your days in your mission, it is always growing, changing. We keep expanding our road network, bridges and tunnels, and the metro is excellent. So it was a fantastic model for the mobility within the city. This is now the metro is taken into different cities and countries in the region, like India, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the rest. Dubai's infrastructure here is shown. I think I've just passed that one. Okay, this is just some statistics for yourselves that will showcase 346 million public transport passengers during 2020. So that was during the COVID-19, because we have just opened the city and opened business. 90 kilometers, longest driverless metro in the world, with 421 kilometers planned for 2030. And that metro, if you try it, it will take you all the way to the Expo site. Public transport services, just some statistics on the different transportation modes that we have here is the metro, the trams, the water taxis, and so on. Dubai is a smart city. Obviously, Mr. Sudhi Kumar have discussed a little about the blockchain and the AI. This is to make Dubai the happiest city on earth, having 90% of the government transactions that became paperless. This will be happening by the end of this year. The blockchain strategy, very quickly here, is the world's first ever government that is to execute all applicable transactions that is using the blockchain technology. which already happened last year, and we are attracting a lot of fintech companies in the DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center. That is one of the free zones that is having the financial and insurance and bank entities based there. This is the information technology, which has lots of opportunities, especially on the open data law that was enacted in 2015 to improve accessibility of data and to encourage innovation, entrepreneurship in smart services. $4.8 billion were spent into that project. AI is to add 182 billion into the economy of the United Arab Emirates by 2035 in these 5 major sectors. Financial service obviously is 37 billion, followed by the healthcare sector, 22 billion, and the transport storage segments, 19 billion. Federal Science, Technology, and Innovation Policy of Dubai government's vision is having 82 billion pool that is targeting 40% increase in the knowledge of workers by 2021. The majority goes here into 2 major sectors are the clean energy projects and the renewable energy of a total $54 billion. And of course, the aviation R&D is a major sector. Banking and finance, we have the DIFC, Dubai International Financial Center, which is not far away, it's just across the road here, is to top 10 global financial center and the leading financial hub for the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia. It has more than 3,200 entities based there. Dubai aims to be the capital of the Islamic economy. It is the 10th in the annual International Financial Center banking by the Bankers Magazine, 1.78 billion market capitalization of Nasdaq Dubai in the Q2 of this year. It's important to mention about the DIFC courts, because that is also attached to the DIFC, its authority, having 161 registered law firms by the first half of this year. And DIFC courts is an independent English language common law judiciary for the civil and commercial disputes. And this is the DIFC courts wills service, financial assets will, guardianship will, property, business ownership, and the full will. I think I was told that the time is over. So, I mean, I can go all day. I'm almost in the end, my dear, don't worry. The manufacturing, there are so many different sectors that we focus on, but we've just kept here a couple of them. Obviously, this presentation will be shared by Sudhir, Kreston, Menon. So we will be more than happy to share the full Dubai Advantage presentation that has the ICT technology, more of the fintech, it has the food and agribusiness sector, and it has healthcare sector, education, tourism, hospitality, retail, a lot. But here is just to have the final of the manufacturing sector that we target 6 main industrial sectors is the aerospace, we are the aviation hub here, maritime, pharmaceuticals, and medical equipment with the fast-moving consumable goods. This is Dubai Industrial Strategy for 2030. That is to promote environmentally friendly and energy efficient manufacturing for all of the different sectors in Dubai. I think I can say thank you very much. Thank you very much for, thank you. And also thank you to our strategic partner, Kreston Menon. Mr. Menon, it's great to see you. And Mr. Khalid, thank you very much. And our beloved free zones here that will give a superb presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Ibrahim Ali. It was a great run through Dubai. There are a lot of changes. Anytime Dubai FDI is willing to talk to you, anytime. Now, I'd like to invite Ali Imran, Head of Transaction Banking and Digital Services for Commercial Bank of Dubai, one of the largest local banks. And Ali is based in UAE for many years. He's been with PwC and ABN AMRO. He's going to talk about how Commercial Bank of Dubai is supporting Israeli businesses as well as other businesses. Welcome, Menon.
Thank you very much. I would echo what Ibrahim just said. As our future generation will look back and define the world timeline, there was AD, BC, and there will be something what we have a PC and PD, I'm sure, which is pre-COVID and post-COVID. I'm also very glad to be here physically without mask amongst you all for a change. It also took me almost a year to come out physically. And my name is Ali Imran, and on behalf of the Commercial Bank of Dubai, I would like to thank Kreston Menon for the opportunity to showcase you all a brief overview about our bank. So effectively, we are a 52-year-old bank, slightly older than the formation of the union itself. 2 years before the union was formed, we came into existence. Effectively, our purpose is to back the businesses driving the UAE economy. We are a bank, which is by virtue of its name, is a commercial bank of Dubai, focused on backing the businesses which are driving the Dubai economy and wider UAE economy. We offer a full suite of banking services ranging from wholesale to retail to private banking services in UAE. CBD is typically viewed in the local market as a challenger bank in both digitally and in terms of the market share itself. We are leapfrogging from our historical being a conventional bank to really focusing on making us fit for future. And I'll share a couple of things that what we have been doing with our clients and with our partners to make sure we are a new age bank as well. To give you a very brief statistical overview, we are the #1 performing bank now, 3rd year in a row in terms of growth. This would be one of our best ever historical years in the 52 years. We're going to cross around $500 million of PBT expected on the full year basis. We're going to grow around 28% year on year. We are expecting to close somewhere slightly under 5% market share in UAE. And in terms of our employee base and size, we are a 1,300 odd base of people. We are all based in UAE. 80% of us are in the city of Dubai and rated quite well by the rating agencies as well. A little bit of to show you some of the statistics already shared by the people earlier as well, but I want to focus a little bit on the 2 points. I think it's important to highlight in the region, UAE is one of the rarest economy where if we see there's truly a business and a personal growth, and that is reflected by it is lowest share of the government deposits into the entire economy. And this is a very important aspect to look into. Amongst all other economies, if you see, they're highly subsidized and funded by the government sector itself. UAE, and particularly in Dubai, this year constituted the lowest one, and that shows the real money flow into the economy and into the city as well in terms of the deposit shares and the wealth being operated into the city and into the region. Overall, UAE financial system continues to grow, and it actually was able to tackle the COVID period quite well. The resilience of the bank clearly showed, and the banking sector showed. The economic packages announced and the intervention by the Central Bank of UAE really helped the economy and the SME sector to come through and bounce back much faster than it has expected in the wider region. And that reflects again into the overall economic growth. It reflects into the growth of the banks, where all the banks have posted record results this year. And overall, the banking sector is quite looking good this year. In terms of the GDP growth, again, some of the statistics, as we entered into the COVID, I remember somebody predicted U-based rebound, a Nike swish. We all were proven wrong. Clearly, it is coming faster than all what is expected. We are expected to grow dramatically in 2021, close to over 3% or above. This is the latest forecast and the number to be seen. I think some of the other key economic indicators as a bankers, as financial services, we see is the hospitality forms a very big part of the city. And clearly some of the underlying performance indicators are extremely strong in this space. Dubai airport traffic, another clearly indicator for us for the footfall into the city and into the country. It's looking again quite good. And the Radiant Property Index is also sort of bouncing back. Overall, we believe, and what we see, significant tailwinds now is emerging out post the COVID is now a bit behind us. For us, as a Commercial Bank of Dubai, or commonly referred to as a CBD, we are aggressively focusing on the new age economy as a bank, which is primarily into fintech, agri-tech, and into the underlying high advances businesses. We are one of the first bank in UAE which has opened its outpost and a digital incubation center to host some of the major fintechs and unicorns coming into the city for the wider connection of the ecosystem. We are one of the prime partners with DIFC and DFSA to facilitate the RegTech development into the city, including sandboxes with Ministry of Finance as well as CBUAE. And if you see, we were also able to take a range of these fintechs and actually partner with them to create digital businesses go to market. Recently, we have launched a digital supply chain financing solution with an entity named Demica. We were the bank which has launched the first robo-advisory product into the market on the Wealth Tech with InvestSuite, a fintech coming out of Belgium. And though it's not public yet, but what's the secret between the friends? We're about to finalize a legal agreement with one of the first Israeli fintech as well, which we'll be bringing to the market, named WalkMe, which is one of the largest unicorns coming out of Israel and listed on the Nasdaq very soon as well. So we are into this space. This is our sweet spot, which we have been focusing in the last 2 to 3 years, and repositioning the bank itself as well, as we believe the future and the new economy exist with borderless and paperless businesses. We need to also evolve and position ourselves to serve these kind of businesses correctly. That's pretty much about it from my end. I'm sure some of you will be having a conversation a little bit after the session, but you're more than welcome. My team is also here. Some of our digital businesses and sales advisors are all here, and we look forward to supporting you all in your journey of financial services and access to finance in the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali Imran. Now I welcome Mr. Jamal Margoob, who is the Senior Sales Director for Dubai Airport Free Zone. Jamal is known to us. I don't need any document to talk about Jamal Margoob. He's known to us for the last more than 20 years. I've been working and traveling different parts of the world promoting Dubai. Jamal's leadership has brought in, now Dubai Airport Free Zone contributes 12% to the Dubai GDP, with almost 1,800 plus companies and a team of almost 19,000 people, professionals working from the entity. Welcome, Jamal. Thank you.
Well, I'm not a stranger in this office, as Mr. Sudi said. I know Mr. Raju, Khalid, Pushpan, Sudhir for 20 years. We've been doing businesses. We've been getting their helps to get clients for our free zone. My first free zone I started with Jabza, and since then I knew everybody, and their contribution to bring companies to Dubai and to UAE is great, and they helped us to grow within the free zone. So today, in my presentation, I'll be presenting Dubai Airport Free Zone and how Dubai Airport Free Zone can be the right partner for you. We are not in the business to get your money as a landlord and then let you do your business. No, we are a partner in the journey with you. We want you to grow from Dubai to go to other markets. The reason why you came to Dubai is to grow your markets. You came from your country to expand your businesses. And that's the part Dubai Airport Free Zone will play in your business, to assist you, to help you, to make you grow and go further in your business. And it's a partnership, what we focus on, rather just being a landlord and tenant. So when you come to Dubai Airport Free Zone, you will feel the difference that you are working with a partner. Dubai Airport Free Zone is the second free zone that's established in UAE with the help of the government. The decree came in the market. This is, as you can see, the location of Dubai Airport Free Zone. Once you land in Dubai airports in the middle of the city, in your right side or left side, you will see buildings, and that represent Dubai Free Zone. You will see a few warehouses in your site. And as you can see, the location of Davza will help you to expand your business faster. One of the things that if you are a heavy traveler to the market, to the regions, it's about 5-10 minutes from your office to the Dubai Airport Free Zone. Sorry, for Dubai airports. You have Terminal 2 where Fly Dubai is just next door. That's another strategic location for Davza. What we contribute and what we have in our plate is basically Dubai Airport Free Zone has 190 square meter space of office that can provide to our tenants, and we grow the space by the demands of the clients. We have a warehouse space of 106,000. What we offer, again, it's 100% foreign ownership, but with the law changes in the recent years in UAE, that company can have an ownership in the market without a local sponsor. Having 18 building offices, having 300 warehouses in total, having no currency. Now, the benefits of the free zone that you can do is in Dubai Free Zone, you land your product in the warehouses in Davza or any free zone, I would say, and then you end up not paying the custom duty, and you're not paying the currency restriction, and there is no VAT payments is there. That's the beauty of the free zones, and that can help you also with Davza. Type of clients we have is about 40% of our clients are multinational clients. As you can see, that's one of the favorite places for Dutch companies take a Davza. When it comes to a foreign trade exceeded in Davza, what we offer through our tenants or who are clients, Davza contributed 10% to Dubai's foreign trade. The foreign trade exceeded in 2020 110 billion dirhams. 76% of the trade represent machinery, sound recorder, TVs, electrical equipment, value added to 51 billions, over 15 billion dirhams trade surplus. Who's the countries that our tenant do business with? I would say you can see in the graph is over 20%, 27% of trade comes from China, 7% come from India, and then 5% of the trade comes from Switzerland, and over 3% of trade comes from United States. Now, industries in Davza across the various sectors, you can see we are not restricted to a certain industry. We welcome most of the industries. You can see we have Airbus, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, Heinz, Hershey, Red Bull, Audis, Chanel, Fossils, Yamaha, Kawasaki. So there are different companies take Davza as the right place for their businesses. Now, in terms of the percentage of the companies, it differs from the industry to industries. Davza will offer you a full unique solution, a unique one-stop shop that all administrative services that can be provided inside. Government office is located in Davza. The custom office is there. So if you have a clearance of any goods to go out by air or by sea, the custom office is available there. Immigrations for your visa requirement. The business facilities, like as a business centers, conferences room, we do have available at our sites for your usage. Food court is available for people who's taking a break during the working hours. They can go and enjoy their meal within the premises of Davza. Lateral services also is there, similar as car rental, travel agencies, and other ICT services which we provide. Now, how you can set up your business in Davza and what is the requirement and what type of license? Like, it's only 3 steps you require to do a business in Davza. First, you select your license type, what activity you will do. Company type, is it a partnership? Is it individual? Is it a subsidiary? Is it a holding? So that's one of this. And then choose the space that you're looking for. Now, the space that's your choice depends on the size of people that you'll have in the office or the premises. Like, I love Mr. Morrison, Menon, Kreston, Menon, their offices is very nice. So it depends on the size of your office. It's how you want to operate. Now, type of license of you require, you can have a trading license, you can have a service license in Davza, e-commerce license, industrial license, you can have a general trading license. If you do multi-commodities, you can have a dual license with the DED is basically having a license from DAVSA, and then you can have a license from Dubai Economic, but the office can be in the same premises. You can have a branch office from overseas. You can have a free zone company. You can have formed a shareholder company. And there's also a capital. Now, the capital that you require is just only 1 dirham required. So it's not that difficult to have a company in Dubai Free Zone. You can have the PLC company, a public limited company with a limited liability. There is no limit in the shareholder. This type of entity is situated for a company that wishes to list and offer its shares as an IPO. We do offer different packages for your setup. You can have an office, an open space, and you divide it the way you want it, or you can have a ready-made office which divided in advance, and you can just take it and we call it a turnkey. So instead of running around trying to fix your office with the furniture, you just land in Dubai, do your administrative work by having a license and stuff, and then just walk into the office with the furnished office. And we do have a startup spaces like a smart office that a company can take or a person can take, and space desk, which you have a license and one employment visa, and then you start and test the market. That's where maybe most company will, or individual will say, let me test the market and see, and then I will grow from here to a different premises. Now, we do have a different, like I said, packages. We have a premium package, which is a 25 square meter, a business license, and give you 2 employment visa. And also we have a premium plus, it's a 50 square meter office, and with this 6 employment visa. We can discuss all this information later on once we have the break. We do also have an industrial warehouses units that you can have a light industry manufacturing in the warehouse. So you can manufacture something, and then you can take that as a national license. So there is a formula, which I think Kreston and Menon will help you to look at that formula, and you can labelize it as a made in UAE also. So DAVSA will provide you with the premises as a light industry units that what you can do that can manufacture in your premises. Now, DAVSA's expansion, from our premises, we have taken another land, which is almost 5K away from our premises as a DAVSA, and which we turned into industrial units. We do have in that land 33 warehouses with the 10 units dedicated for a cold storage. And from there, you can do different industries also. The new building, also, we have a new building. Like I said, we grow from the business. Every time we have a business, and expansions for the buildings, that we takes our building to different shapes, and we look at the best of designs. DAVSA's initiatives, we do have a lot of initiative DAVSA, so we always think for what the clients want. So, for example, we have a company called TradeLink, that's a platform where you can expose your product in the platforms and then sell it from there as an online. So even if you are a DAVSA tenant as a premises office, you can have your product is exposed in the TradeLink business, and you can sell it from there. We do have another company called HTMC, which is also in the halal business, which is growing. Scality, another business for basically growing your business in terms of entrepreneurs. Since I have 1 minute, she said, I will just say, basically, DAVSA is a platform, but it's not gonna leave you alone. DAVSA will always be your partner. DAVSA always will look after you, will connect you also to the government departments whenever needed, will connect you to the right consultant whenever you need it. And our network within the government sector, private sector is used. So just look at your partner whenever you decide to look for a business in Dubai. Thank you.
I would quickly call upon Faisal Jassim, who is the Senior Manager for JAFSA, Jebel Ali Free Zone, which is one of the largest free zones in UAE, with more than 8,000 companies. In fact, Kreston Menon started working with Jebel Ali Free Zone right from the start. And we might have contributed 25% companies to JAFSA out of the 8,000 companies. We have set up that. And JAFSA contributes 32% to the Dubai trade volume. and the foreign direct investment of 25% of Dubai's foreign trade. And very important free zone. Faisal Jassan, welcome.
Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Very nice to have you all. Thank you for visiting Dubai. Just before I start, I just want to say that it's so nice to actually shake hands. I think I didn't realize how much I missed it. In 2020, it was something that everybody was very scared of doing. Now I try to go out of my way, but it depends on the other person how they do it. Even I think in 2020, you know, me and my friends, when we were sitting at home doing our meetings in pajamas, which I'm sure a lot of you as well were doing in 2020, we always kept looking at Israel in terms of the vaccination rates, in terms of the mask policies. And we've always seen it like, look, Israel, that's what happened with them. So hopefully we will follow suit. So it was always a glimmer of hope, especially in 2020, especially with COVID, is that we saw Israel very much as a sister nation in terms of how the progress will be in the future, in terms of vaccinations, in terms of coming out of COVID and all that. So thank you so much. I'll give you a brief presentation about the Jebel Ali Free Zone and the DP World Group and Port. So when we talk about the Jebel Ali Free Zone, we are part of the DP World Group. So DP World is in more than 40 countries around the world with 80 ports and terminals spread across all 6 continents. In Dubai, we are the largest free zone. We're the oldest free zone. And our assets over here are, in terms of ports, the Jebel Ali port, which is the 10th largest port in the world in terms of volume. And then we have Mina Rashid, which was the original port in Dubai. Now it's more of a cruise terminal. And then Hamriya port, which is made for more shorter haul voyages. We have the Jebel Ali Free Zone, which I'll explain in later slides. We have the Dubai Auto Zone, which is relating to the automotive industry. And we have National Industries Park, which is a mainland economic zone. So it is not a free zone, but it's geared towards national champions. We have two trade enablement solutions, which is Dubai Trade, which I'll explain later on, and Smart Solution Logistics. We also provide security services. So World Security is another subsidiary of ours, but we've recently branched out in terms of manpower as well. So when a company comes and establishes, wants laborers, wants mid-collar, mid-level employees, or even wants all the way up to director, there's something we can provide. Now, this is very important. The reason I mentioned all of these is that when a client comes to us in Jabza, it's not like, here's your license, here's your lease, and see you in a year's time. We want to understand how we can assist you, how we can go deeper. So if you need logistical support, we can provide it for you. If you need laborers, we can get you there. If you need to go to different markets, 40 countries plus, we can get you there, and I'll explain that later on as well. Next slide, please. Can I do myself? Okay. So we can reach anywhere in the GCC within 1 day. So it ends up us becoming the corridor for the wider region. So when a client comes to us, they don't need to go to, and reinvent the wheel in Saudi, in Oman, in Qatar, in Pakistan, in Iraq, in Africa, etc. They come through here, and we're the gateway for the wider region. So this is very important. I'll give you an example. We have, for example, Nissan, Isuzu, Jaguar Land Rover. These guys have huge facilities in Jabza. The reason is because they don't need to go to each individual market and reinvent the wheel. They come put everything over here and then go to wherever they need to go to within 1 day. And this is where we take them there. Now, when we talk about Jabza, and we talked about Dafza previously, Dubai has 24 free zones. Each is catered to a different industry. Ours is catered to manufacturing, logistics, and trade. It's very simple. We have a port, we have to move the port. So the companies that we attract are companies that need port facilities, are companies that need the infrastructure in terms of having manufacturing and logistical and trading capabilities. So we have the capacity to handle 22 million containers. Last year, I believe we handled 14 million containers. And we as well, like I mentioned, we have 3 economic zones. As was mentioned, we have approximately 8,000 companies in Dubai. What's very important to mention is that in 2020 and so far in 2022, we have beat the targets in terms of registrations and in terms of revenues, in terms of new companies coming in. It just goes to show the testament that Dubai and the business community globally placed in it. So obviously during the months of the lockdown, the registrations had dipped, but ever since we've been back in the office, whatever targets we set in 2019, before anybody heard of COVID, for 2020, we've exceeded those targets on a monthly basis until year end. We're very much port-centric. So when a client comes to us, we can provide the whole array of services in order for them to facilitate their business. So we're currently in downtown, but in Jabza, as you can see, the upside down F, that's the port. There is around the Jabza North, Jabza South, the Al Maktoum International Airport. And all that is custom bounded. That means you can use airport, you can use seaport, you can use 2 major highways, and soon as well, you see those that snakes coming around the side, that will be as well the rail terminal, which is being worked on now, all within a custom bounded zone. So that means you can ship in your goods and fly it out. You can ship in your goods and rail it out, and vice versa. So currently there's no system that exists like this in the world where you have all major modes of transportation within a custom bounded area. We have as well, as my colleague Jamal mentioned, one-stop shop. So that is across all free zones in Dubai, where all relevant government departments and ministries are located there, whether physically or on their online platform. So again, you don't really need to leave the free zone in order to get everything that you need done. That is especially so in Jabza. Now, when you boil down Jabza, we're really a real estate company. So we offer clients facilities for them to start their business. We have plots of land, which you can lease out. The lease terms are 20 years plus. The land is Jabza's, but what's on the land is yours. So if you wanted to mortgage it with a bank, you can do so. You wanted to sell it in the future, you could do so. We have showrooms. We have light industrial units and warehouses that start at 313 square meters and above. So again, people can always scale up, and they're modular units, so people can always take multiples of them. We have offices. We have Jabza 1, which is our convention center. So there's auditorium, there's a convention facility, there are business parks over there. For example, we have Huawei currently that is doing a major event in Jabza 1 with the convention center over there. We have a business park, so we partnered with Regis. So Regis does also offer serviced offices in terms of meeting rooms, secretary services, etc. And obviously, you know, Regis has more than 3,000 offices around the world. We have retail outlets. So 150,000 people do work in Jabza, so they do need basic services as well. Out of those 150,000 people, 25,000 do actually even live in Jabza. So we have 4 labor accommodations in Jabza as well. And we have what's called the customized development solution. So this is something very interesting. So when a client comes to us and they have a large facility requirement, 10,000 square meters or more, what we can do is we tell them, guys, listen, instead of taking your working capital or going to your board of directors and fighting with them in order to make the investment in a facility, we will build the facility for you from scratch. Take a blank piece of paper, whatever you want on the facility, we'll build it for you from scratch, and we'll lease it out to you over a long period of time. So that investment that you were to make in the beginning, you can redo into the business. So what we've done was we've done that for Jaguar Land Rover. Instead of them spending $50 million in the first year, we built a facility for them and leased it out to them over a long period of time. It's a gorgeous, huge 20,000 square meter facility where they'll be dealing for the logistics of Africa and the Middle East and South Asia from Dubai. The incentives, again, to opening to jobs, 100% ownership. Again, that has been diluted because of the ownership on the mainland. Personal income tax obviously is zero across the UAE. No repatriation on capital. So you put in $1 billion today, you can take it out tomorrow. No restrictions on foreign talent. People can hire whoever they like. We don't have nationalization targets. On-site customs facilities. Again, we work very closely with customs. So if you were to bring in food and beverages or anything that would require customs clearance, there is location on site. Corporate tax concession is 0% for 50 years. So that's very important. I think the most important point, and I think my colleague Jamal alluded to this, is the import and re-export duties is zero. So this is very important. So I mentioned Jaguar Land Rover, I mentioned Nissan, I mentioned Isuzu, Lipton. There's so many other companies over here. Why they invest in Jabza and why they invest in DAFs is the reason is they can bring in their goods, keep it here, and then re-export it. They don't pay customs, they don't pay VAT. So that means you are a hub for the wider region. Now, Jaguar Land Rover is obviously headquartered in the UK. So whenever they make a sale, they don't need to ship it from the UK over here. 4 to 5 weeks to get it over here. Nissan is 6 weeks. So it's even worse. So when they are located over here, as soon as they make the sale, immediately it goes on a plane, it goes on a ship, hopefully rail in the future, and it goes to the market they need to go to. Again, no currency exchange restrictions. We're pegged to the dollar so people know what they're getting. Ability to mortgage your premises as well to unlock an additional source of financing. Now, Smart Solution Logistics is our sister logistics entity. We have 400 logistics entities and companies in Jabza. One of them is relating to the DP World group. So when a client comes to us, let's say you have a company coming from Israel, they don't want, it's a new market for them, they don't know what to do. I always tell them, guys, don't start big. Do not take a warehouse. Do not take a large office. Do not hire an army of people. Don't get all the trucks. Come in small. You, maybe a salesperson, and just do sales. Just let people know what you have. Sell your products. And the back end will take care of it. We'll do your import, your export, your distribution, your storage, your custom clearance. Get comfortable with the market. Then after that, you can always expand. If you come in today, in a month's time, 2 months' time, 10 years' time, you wanted to go to a larger facility, we can do that. And it's very easy for you to go. But that's the thing. We want to lower the barriers of entry for people to come in, get their feet on the ground, and then expand in the future. We have as well Dubai Trade, which is our online trading platform. So in the past, what would end up happening is people have to go to each individual site. You'd have to go to the insurance companies to renew your insurance, the banks for banking transactions, the port, the customs, etc. In the past, like 20 people had to go to 20 sites in order to clear their goods. Now it's just one. This was, I know time is over, but I'm going to go a little bit over. I'm almost done. This is where we have the online platform now, where people can go online and 99% of the services can be done online. I know that sounds interesting and it sounds like a marketing gimmick. However, this was especially relevant in 2022. Why? Because people couldn't leave their homes, couldn't travel. So even international companies can manage their businesses out of here without physically being here. So this was especially relevant. And even when we had lockdowns, clients still manage their business. I mean, a lot of the, for example, the national disinfectant campaign was done in Jafza from the companies over there, food and beverages, etc. We're still running. I know we're.
No, you can continue. We'll raise for the national anthem.
Okay. Yes.
It's 11 o'clock.
Perfect. All right.
You may, all of you,
Yes.
please raise for the UAE anthem.
Perfect. So as I mentioned, we are in more than 40 countries around the world. One of the markets that we are very much heavily invested in is India. In fact, DP World is the second largest FDI investor in India. We manage as a group, 25%, a quarter of India's trade is managed by the DP World Group. So we have 6 ports, 13 inland facilities, 2 logistical companies, and an economic zone. So we can take clients from their factory door to their client's door in India, end to end. Now, India is a fantastic market. It's a huge market, and it's a growing market. But the problem you'll find with a lot of people especially when they're doing trading in India, is that they're like, the logistics is a bit complicated. So this is where we come in and we're like, don't worry about that. We'll do that for you end to end. So I'll give you an example. I'm working with a client now, a US company, that has a proprietary piece of technology whereby they greatly reduce the carbon emission from vehicles. Now, India has recently signed into law, and I think certain states, and they're going to do it federally as well, whereby the emissions on vehicles have to be capped at a certain level. This company is going to come in and he's like, Faisal, I have demands in the billions. And he's going to get his raw material from India, manufacture it and assemble it in Dubai, and then we ship it back in. That entire process flow and supply chain, we are helping him do. So all he needs to do is focus on getting the sales and delivering and getting the clients and making sure they're satisfied, and on the back end we'll do everything for them. So it's a very powerful proposition. It's called Project India Bridge. We're doing it for the Far East, we're doing it for China, we're doing it for Africa, Latin America, Europe. So we're going to be rolling out this project in the future. What I mean is that and as Mr. Jamal mentioned, when you register with us, we want to be your partner. We want to delve in deep with you and see how we can assist you to going forward in the future, how we can assist you logistically, how we can really be trade enablers for you. So we are in more than 40 countries. You want to go to Korea, you want to go to China, you want to go to, for example, Brazil, Ecuador, Dominican Republic, Argentina, Canada. We're there. There's no need for you to reinvent the wheel. Let's have a discussion. Let's see how we can get you there. And maybe there's something we can do for you that makes it more efficient. If you have any sort of physical aspect to your business, you will know that your biggest cost is logistics. Forget about leasing, forget about manpower. The biggest cost is logistics. You tweak that very slightly, it ends up becoming a tsunami in your financial statement at the end of the year. So this is something that we really want to help with, and this is something that we've been doing with a lot of clients around the world. And with that, I guess, okay. So these are some of the locations that we're in. Again, we do more than 150 ports of call with more than 80 weekly services. Again, this is very important. When a client comes to us, you look at all the clients in JAFSA, 8,000 companies. I can guarantee you the vast majority of them do not service the UAE market. Dubai and the UAE is too small a market for them. They service much larger markets. The reason they come to us over here is because the investment that we made into the infrastructure, because of the networks that we have, because of the ports of call. So I was mentioning Jaguar Land Rover, I mentioned Rouse Pharmaceuticals, Lipton. Just a very fun fact. All the tea that is consumed in Australia and New Zealand is produced in Dubai by JAFSA. 60% of the re-exported tea, when I mean re-exported, because China and India produce a lot of tea but consume a lot of tea. 60% of the world's re-exported tea is traded out of Dubai. And many, many other companies as well that are located over here serve the wider region. The reason they come to us is because of the connectivity and the infrastructure we provide. We have, again, a virtual tour. If you guys want, you can take a copy of the QR code and they'll send you the link and you can check out the virtual tour as well of the port. Sorry, you wanted to? I'll leave it. Anyways, I finished my presentation. So I'll just leave it on screen for whoever wanted to. Yeah, there we go. All right. Thank you so much.
This session is by Rashid Al-Mullah, who is the Vice President Marketing for Dubai Commerce City. It's a very new free zone in Dubai. There's a lot to hear about them. Mr. Rashid, please.
Thank you so much, Sudhir, and thank you all for being here today on this very special day in the UAE. And I think we've had some wonderful sessions so far from our colleagues, and we look forward also to even more interesting sessions as time progresses. So before we go into Dubai Commerce City and what Dubai Commerce City is, we'll just give you a brief outlook on what's happening in terms of e-commerce in the globe, in the region, and also here within the UAE. So there's no denying that there is a global and regional shift that's happening in e-commerce. Global e-retail sales in 2019 were recorded at $3.5 trillion US, and they're expected to reach $6.54 trillion by 2022. That alone is an increase of about 85%. In terms of purchased goods online in 2019, 1.92 billion people were recorded in doing purchases. Global e-retail e-commerce traffic in June 2020 was recorded at 22 billion visits. And the MENA's e-commerce sales in 2019 was estimated at $34 billion US and is expected to reach 49 billion by the end of year 2022, roughly a 40% increase as well. If we drill down and look at the consumer behavior here in the UAE and KSA specifically, because these are the two key players in the e-commerce in the region. The UAE in 2020, in terms of the market value for e-commerce, was valued at $27.2 billion. And this growth is not just witnessed within the UAE, it's witnessed across the MENA region. 79% of the consumers in the UAE and 95% of the consumers in KSA are now spending more online and spending their money in e-commerce channels. 48% of the consumers in the UAE and 69% in the KSA are going to continue these habits even post the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is not just a trend that we see happening just because of COVID and that people are forced to enter into e-commerce and to fulfill their needs through e-commerce. This is a trend that is going to stay here for the long term, and also we expect it to grow substantially within the coming years. The UAE's e-commerce industry is set to reach 63.8 billion USD by the end of the year 2023. Now, if we look at why e-commerce is so successful here in the UAE and why it's booming, in addition to the circumstances of COVID-19, it is without a doubt it's one of the fastest growing in the MENA region, and that's due to four main elements, I would say. So number one, there's high digital penetration. So almost 99.9% of the population in the UAE has access to digital services, has access to the internet. So average spend is also one of the highest in the region. It's around $1,648 per purchase. or per individual. The other important reason is, as some of my colleagues highlighted as well, Dubai has really world-class infrastructure in terms of logistics. So we have amazing ports, we have excellent airports. So this gives us a logistical advantage in terms of facilitating e-commerce as well. And fourth, and I think this is one of the most important reasons, there's huge government backing and huge government intent in terms of facilitating e-commerce, in terms of establishing e-commerce and Dubai specifically as a hub for e-commerce services. Now, if you look at COVID-19 and what happened in the UAE, of course, COVID-19, it's definitely not a great thing that happened during 2020, but there were some benefits that we witnessed in terms of what happened in the e-commerce world. So you can see that online orders doubled, average daily sales increased by 200%, online traffic went up by 10.2%, and the transactions went up by 32.9%. And that's just from January to June in 2020. This growth is without a doubt unprecedented in terms of the growth that we witnessed in e-commerce in the region. It was growing at a steady pace year after year, but this year, especially the COVID year, it grew substantially. So before going into Dubai Commerce City, now we can agree that there is definitely an appetite in terms of companies that want to enter into e-commerce, and there's also an appetite for consumers who want to fulfill their needs in this e-commerce market, in this e-commerce sector. And this is where Dubai Commerce City comes. We are there to bridge the gap between these two elements. So Dubai Commerce City is the region's leading e-commerce free zone, if not the first e-commerce free zone specifically dedicated for this sector. In terms of location, we are strategically located in Dubai. So right in the middle of Dubai, next to Dubai Airport International. And we are located in Umrumur area. Now, this area is an industrial area, but geographically within Dubai, it makes perfect sense because e-commerce is all about location, location, location. So being centrally located in Dubai, you have access locally here to all of the areas in Dubai, to the other Emirates as well. You have excellent access to regional markets and international markets because of the proximity to the airport and to the other ports as well. So like we said, it's the first free zone dedicated to e-commerce. This project is spread across an area of 2.1 million square feet. So it's a quite big project. The investment that's been put into this project is roughly 3.2 billion AEDs, which is, I would say, north of $1 billion US. The project is actually a joint venture. So my colleague Jamal here is from Davza, and Davza has invested 50% into this project in a joint venture with Al Wasl Properties, which is one of the biggest property developers here in the country. We started operations this year, in April specifically, and the project is comprised of 3 different clusters. If you can see, the first one is the business cluster, which offers 12 office buildings, ground and 6 floors up. This is where you would have your offices, your smart desks, your premium offices, your shell and core that you can fit out. In the middle there's an area called the social cluster. So this area is basically restaurants, food halls, cafes, retail outlets, boutique restaurants. And at the end of that, or towards the end of this plot of land, you have the logistics cluster, which is basically 20 dedicated warehouse units, 4 large e-fulfillment centers, and a multi-client warehouse as well. So you can see it's designed in a way that fulfills the different needs that you might have in terms of establishing your business or your e-commerce business in Dubai. Now, we also cater or have the largest e-fulfillment center right in the heart of Dubai. The area is around 22,000 square meters. Apex height is around 15 meters with internal height in roughly about 11 meters. Now, the reason why the warehouses are so high is because, being in e-commerce, you're looking at efficiency. And efficiency comes with maximizing your storage. So these have been built in a way that facilitate that and allow you or allow the customer to stack up high in terms of their products or their items that need storage, and just to minimize their costs, especially when doing logistics and storage. So what does Dubai Commerce City bring here as a value proposition? What do we add in terms of e-commerce? So like I said in the beginning, we're there to bridge that gap. We are there to basically offer enablement of e-commerce in the region, and also to offer full end-to-end e-commerce services and solutions. In an ideal world, you would think that establishing a company is just a matter of getting your lease, your license, your registration, your office, and that's it. But in reality, it's not the case. So what we tried to do here was to try to be a little bit different. We said not everybody that wants to enter into e-commerce is literally aware of how to enter into e-commerce, and not everybody that's already into e-commerce is as efficient as they can be. So we've offered a number of value propositions, a number of added services, and we've created this ecosystem for the clients that are already here in Dubai Commerce City. So this ecosystem consists of, let's say, 6 elements, and these elements would be essential for you to establish your e-commerce business and to run it efficiently. So we are there to help you in terms of the basics: online store setup, web store management, customs consulting, warehouse logistics, even up to last mile delivery. In addition to developing your marketing strategies, developing your performance marketing and digital marketing strategies, and also localization strategies. And localization strategies here is very important because what you do in one country and is successful might not apply to the other country as well. You're dealing with different dynamics, you're dealing with different target markets, you're dealing with different segments altogether, different cultures as well. That plays a role. So in a nutshell, what we're trying to offer here is comprehensive turnkey e-commerce solutions. These 6 pillars are what we aim to identify as the essential pillars for any e-commerce business to succeed and thrive. So you have e-commerce technology platforms and services, consulting, business setup and custom support, warehousing, last mile delivery, digital marketing, customer analytics, e-commerce business support services. Having these 6 elements in a one-stop shop is very unique at the moment, and I think Dubai Commerce City is the only entity that's offering this for its clients. To cement those 6 pillars, so we're not just talking about having these pillars, we're putting them into action. We've established predetermined partnerships with a number of multinational companies that serve each and every one of those 6 pillars that we just talked about. So some of the big names that we've already partnered with include Alibaba Cloud, Channel Engine, DHL, Hellman, GBM, Concentrix, Network International, MCA, RTC. These are just to name a few. So these are partnerships that are already there between us, Dubai Commerce City, and these entities that you can take advantage of as a new company that's establishing here in Dubai and literally catapult you into the e-commerce world. To conclude, and I think the time is over as well, so just in time, what we're aiming to offer here is complete business solutions. And like my colleagues just mentioned, and to echo what they said, it's not a tenant-landlord relationship. We're there to enable your business, and it's our benefit, to have you succeed and to have you grow from, let's say, a smart desks up to an office, up to owning multiple warehouses and serving the region in terms of the e-commerce sector. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Rashid. I wanted to say that the Israeli delegation has to reach Expo 2020 at almost 12:50, 1 o'clock. So they have a deadline of 12:15 to leave from the office. So we have hardly 30 minutes and we have 5 more speakers. So I request all the others next speakers to please try your best, because of this has just happened and we have a time limit. Our next speaker is very interesting. In fact, Benjamin David Martin, who is the Chief Commercial Officer for one of the largest healthcare groups in the UAE. We've got 18 plus years experience in the market, but most renowned is, which I wanted to say, is Ben was associated with, as the head of sports in Amazon UK, and very closely associated with City Football Group, Manchester United, Xerox. And during his Manchester United time, he had met Dr. Shamsher Ali, who is the chairman of VPS Group. Welcome, Benjamin.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody in the room. Good morning, everybody online. Let me start very quickly. 10 years ago, when I first visited the UAE, when I was working for Manchester United, my experience was very different. What I found then was a place of much hope and much, a place that was taken advantage of, candidly, by people from international sports businesses. Now, we find now that there's a much more established understanding of the way that we can operate. And now that I find myself working with Dr. Shamsher in the healthcare space, there's a lot of similarities to what we're doing. We're looking to create and grow through partnerships. We're looking to deliver excellence, whether it was on the field then, it's now in our hospitals. Do I have control? VPS Group was founded by Dr. Shamsher, a trained radiologist. The reality is now that we are approximately 24 hospitals in the UAE. We have operations in Saudi, we have hospitals in Oman, and we have hospitals in India. This has set a level of healthcare excellence that now means that instead of people, local Emirati, having to go overseas for their treatment, remaining in this country is actually a choice. So what we have across our group, which actually has ancillary businesses such as the only FDA recognized pharmaceuticals manufacturing business in the region, here in Jebel Ali Free Zone. We have a patient base that was demanding a better patient experience. So we have about 4 million outpatients on an annual basis and over 100,000 inpatients every year. We've got about 13 to 15,000 employees, and that's a variable number. But all of those employees work across this group of brands. Now, the idea here is that we use that platform to not only invest in our human capital, but to drive the business forward. Ultimately, patients now have choice, and our brands represent different access points for that choice. Burjeel is our premium brand in the group, and Burjeel Medical City opened in Abu Dhabi in December of last year. It's a 408-bed quaternary care hospital with specialties in oncology in particular. As I said, we're spread across the region, and what that means is that we're able to engage people close to where they feel comfortable, right? So we know that actually, from a patient experience perspective, feeling comfortable and at rest during your treatment is important for you, but it's also important for those around you. The family is incredibly important in that structural network. And if we can care for them in a way that is sympathetic, then we're actually accelerating the wellness journey. COVID had a huge impact on what we call as medical tourism. But we have committed to Abu Dhabi, the government, to make sure that we are driving medical tourism back into our hospitals. And Burjeel Medical City in particular is actually driven towards that. So we have, as I said, specialties in oncology, in cardiology, even in neurology, and conversations already this morning have opened up some avenues of communication where there are partnerships that we want to achieve. And we talk about doing and creating partnerships very clearly, because even though we have this wonderful facility and we have this wonderful network of healthcare, we need partners to drive it forward. So for example, we're working very closely with Philips for our cancer provisions, and we're using an AI platform that they've developed to help identify cancers, particularly breast cancer as well. And the ribbon here is, whilst it's expired in October, Burjeel remains committed to identifying and bringing screening for breast cancer, particularly to women over 40, to the areas that they need it. With our partnerships with Philips, with our partnerships with local governments, saw our organization play a major role in the COVID recovery. We operated governmental facilities. We brought nurses into the country during the height of COVID so that we could actually care for an increase in volume of people. So whilst during COVID, we had to shift our focus from elective surgeries, which in some cases got cancelled for about 6 to 8 weeks, what we actually allowed us to do was cycle up intensive care units to care for the people who most needed that. one of the main things that patients are now demanding is an ease of access and an ease of experience. So the digital patient experience is something that we'll be investing a lot of time and a lot of effort into, primarily because we're all used to living on a screen, not just because of COVID, but because we want to interact, we want to book our appointments, we want to see our records, we want to change our appointments, but we need to get that interaction with our doctors and with our clinicians through there. So we will be making huge investments into patient records management. We'll be making huge investments into the front end so that patients can feel that they have control. Okay, because actually to compare patients to fans from my old world, we will cycle through, we would identify fans as the hardcore fans to those who are just mildly interested. Patients have these same levels of loyalty. What we're trying to do is influence that level of loyalty by showing them what the experience can be. We have very well-known doctors come in to drive this forward because we've moved on from going to Google and typing best breast cancer surgeon in Abu Dhabi, right? The first port of call is our personal networks. We'll go and we'll look for affirmation. So what we as healthcare providers need to do is engage in that personal experience. So it's not just a Google search for the best breast cancer doctor in Abu Dhabi, but we're now looking for how we influence the personal network of the individual looking for the care and reaffirming that positive experience they've had. All of that is ultimately driving from the digital experience. So if we're able to create that, clinical experts is now a standard here in the UAE. What we're looking now is to create additional experiences around that clinical excellence so that the patients have a better awareness of choice. And we are very conscious that through partnerships, that's how we're going to make that leap forward. So we welcome conversation and very much thanking everyone for allowing us to be here today.
Thank you, Benjamin. Interesting, great vision for BPS. Now I welcome Surendra Jasrani, who is the managing partner and CEO for MMJS Consulting, which is the tax entity of Kreston Menon. So with that, I will request him to reduce his speech to 6 minutes so that we can meet the deadline. Thank you.
You can count on me. So I'm lucky to be before 12. You know why? Because yesterday night I wanted to see and welcome my friends from Israel in your language, Boker Tov. So, but if I cross 12, then I don't know. So I'm on the time. Thank you very much, and good morning to all who are online. And I'll take 5 minutes maximum. I would say thanks to Mr. Sudhir for including this topic in today's agenda, and I think it's very important. Tax is very serious subject, and I will try to make it light. We will make it simple and friendly for you. As Mr. Jamal, Mr. Faisal already mentioned about taxes in UAE, there are no taxes on corporate taxes, benefits for the free zones, but there are a few things which you should like to see as we go. So we have indirect taxes already live in the country. So it's VAT, which is value added tax. Now I understand in Israel, it is 17%. We are the lowest in entire world. UAE has the lowest VAT rate of 5%. There are many sectors, many industries which are zero rate, and there are many industries, many sectors which are exempt. So I would say we are handling this from last 4 years. The way VAT has been implemented in UAE is based on all the learnings from Europe, UK, Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, India, and this is the base law which I have seen. I'm handling from 20 years, but I would say it is made for the country. We have excise tax, which is primarily introduced to see that we consume the products which are like tobacco, energy drinks, sweetened drinks, and there's a rate which is from 50% to 100%. The objective of higher rate is to see that they are consumed less because of health. We have custom duties, which is again a lowest, which is 5%. But again, a lot of free zones here. We have benefits for custom duties, VAT, and also for corporate taxes. So we are at a place where we take care of business first. There are many products in customs which are exempt as well. Now, while we talk about indirect tax, there is also importance of corporate tax, which is emerging. So a quick highlight on that, like again, Israel, the corporate tax starts from 23% around, and in UAE, we don't have corporate tax for now. But as we go, as we progress, you all must be hearing what is happening on BEPS, which is base erosion profit shifting. So there is some relevance to what is going to happen in GCC countries where there is no corporate tax, including UAE. Very good information here is, UAE has 135 double taxation avoidance agreement treaties. Now it is very interesting that we don't have a corporate tax here, but we have treaties. So what is the benefit of that? And very important that Israel have also signed a treaty on 31st May of 21. If it is ratified in 2021, we will have implementation from 1st January 2022. Now I will highlight the importance of this, which is going to impact the way we do business between Israel and UAE. So if Israeli company is providing a services to UAE, when we make payment, we are not going to withhold any taxes. So that means you raise a $100 bill, company in UAE pays $100. When UAE company provides a services to Israeli company, you have a local withholding tax, which you deduct. Generally, it is higher rate. Because of double taxation avoidance agreement treaty, you will do a lower withholding tax. This is amazing benefit of UAE, where we don't have a corporate tax, but we have the treaties. So I would like to mention this specifically. We do have taxes on two industries, I would say, which is foreign branches of the banks and companies engaged in the oil exploration, which is very limited based on the Emirates. Now I mentioned about base erosion profit shifting. Why this is important in this year is because everybody is talking about global minimum corporate tax. And why this has become a need, because Apple, Google, Facebook, the challenge which has happened with this tech companies, they provide the services in one country, they book the profits in one country. So in UAE, we don't have any taxes, so they intend to bring profits over here. So that means someone in the world is losing it. So they wanted to bring a global minimum corporate tax. So this has a relevance from a longer perspective that UAE is part of the inclusion framework agreement, but in UAE, we have many free zones. Again, we have promised for no corporate tax on that. Like in VAT, we have a relaxation in the benefit on free zones. Same would follow in corporate tax. So any company who wants to set up or who are actually in existence today, they should plan about future. They should do their analytics. They should do how a tax function is working today and just plan about it. We have reporting requirements for few industries. It is called economic substance regulation. So any company who is set up here, they need to ensure that they have a substance when they do business over here. Only a company on paper and you do business in some other countries would not be encouraged. So it's a reporting requirement to prove a substance in UAE. We also have ultimate beneficial owner, which is again a regulatory requirement to report, where we have corporate structures and there are shareholders behind these corporate entities. So we need to report who are the beneficial owner. Now, these are the very simple taxes, which I would say currently in UAE, and they are very easy to comply if they are handled well. But if someone who cannot handle well will not be appreciating that. So it is very, very important that we understand and apply it well. Everybody know that UAE was not having any taxes from last many years, but VAT started from January 18. Now, my experience of tax regulatory stuff coming in UAE is we see a lot of MNCs. They are very open to come here because now they see there's an open environment. There is an environment where they see that, yes, there is some regulations which are helping to do the business well. So I would say, I'm not sure what's the time, but wanted to save time for other speakers. With this, I'm done. Happy to see any questions.
Thank you, Surinder, for keeping up the time. And I invite Michael, who is the managing partner for Aaron's company. He's a real estate specialist. And we started with Boker Tovim in the morning. Now it's Ahar Zurim Tovim. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and good morning, everyone in online. So, real estate. Well, real estate what drives Dubai. I mean, I myself came here 2006, and I was not convinced. You know, when I saw this country and you know, in the middle of desert, but what has happened here for the last 20 years is just amazing. And it basically started in the late 90s when they decided to allow foreigners to own properties. Previously, it was only for GCCs. No foreigners could own land here or buy any properties. They started with the leasehold, and in the early 2000, they created what we call now the freehold areas. So freehold areas, like we are now into Business Bay, downtown, Dubai Marina, Palm Jumeirah, these are all freehold areas, which means that any nationals can buy and own properties 100%. You're 100% owner, and if you sell, buy, rent it out, all the revenues are yours. So with that transformation, obviously still the majority of the land in UAE are still for GCCs, but there are constantly new areas coming up, and that drives the UAE market. I go one step. And then it doesn't take much long from you arrive from the airport, you see these massive constructions. And one of the aspects of the growth in Dubai is the amount of the quick decisions from the government, from making a plan to actually making that project alive. And although we are in a country that is only 50 years old, you know, I'm older than this country. So, but the transition, you know, making a decision and making this, like, you know, Burj Khalifa, the tallest man-made structure in the world, all that comes from quick decisions. And with that came is that a lot of the regulations and laws were not there for the tenants, for the landlords, for people selling by, but they are constantly very quickly adapting to this. And me being Swedish, you know, consumer right might not be the strongest thing with a lot of the people buying this, but this is also one aspect that is growing. When you buy from the developer, you will find that, you know, I will most likely need to do much more due diligence buying a property, especially from the developers. That means that there's a lot more responsibility on the individual buying a property in Dubai to look after, you know, your own interest, to look to get the investment and where your money is going, especially when dealing with the developers. Another aspect of the housing prices and real estate is that it's actually really affordable. If you compare to any other major city now, you know, Dubai is becoming one of those cities in the world where we are looking to be the #1 destination for tourists. We have London, Paris, New York, Hong Kong, and with that comes people who like to have maybe a second home, third home, or just a holiday home. So giving that low entry price for an apartment with amazing facilities, pool, beach access, also comes with revenues. The revenues are much higher. The return on investment in Dubai is among the top nations in the world. You are generating rent income 100% tax-free in Dubai, obviously. So that's one of the biggest advantages. When you buy a property, the rental market is totally free. There are no regulations. If you want to rent it on a short term, on a long term, it's up to you to manage your property yourself, or you choose one of the other property management, or even Airbnb. So that means that the revenues are uncomparable to any other major cities, especially when we're looking at the cities where the revenues are in the lower 3 to 4%. Another aspect is also the possibilities to sell and rent, to sell and buy the property. There are a lot of transactions. We see in a lot of countries where you will have difficulty selling your property. Here, there is a huge demand, and if you, especially in those popular areas like Marina, Palm Jumeirah, you can easily exit your investment. Yeah, my time is come. So, and I will appreciate if anyone has to more detailed projects, I will happy to be individually speaking to you. Thank you so much for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I invite Mohammed Maria, who is the managing partner for Just Wills. He is a very celebrated wills specialist in UAE. Just Google Just Wills, he has done major solving of problems when when things happened on an uncertain way. So he has been playing a very important role in the life of investors in this country. Just Wills.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to thank Kreston, Menon for allowing me to do a talk on this very important topic. And I just want to thank everyone for being here to listen to what I have to say. The importance of succession planning. I like to call this succession planning because we're not looking at one thing. We are looking at everything. So for me, the topic is not very simple, and I know 6 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever I have, I won't be able to do justice to this topic. So I'm just going to go through this as quickly as I can, and I hope you'll be able to understand. Oh, okay. Okay, just a little bit about Just Wills. Originally, it's a UK-based company. I've been with them since 1989, came into the UAE back in 2005. We were the first company to set up to offer succession planning services to everyone living here. Okay, let's talk about what happens if someone passes away. Now, I know this is a subject nobody likes to talk about. Deep down, I think everyone knows they need to plan for this, but nobody wants to talk about it. This is why I say to everyone, I get very busy when the unfortunate happens, because then the family are talking what needs to happen. You're deciding that there is a bank account here, a property here, wife one here, wife two in another country as well. And wife two doesn't know wife one is here. So unfortunately, it's all fun and games when it comes to these matters. But if you are talking about in the UAE itself, and I'm not going to exclude the UAE from the GCC because it's a very similar system. Number one, all bank accounts are blocked the moment the bank is informed of death. Remember, once the bank is informed, everything is blocked. Unlike other countries, they don't have this right to survivorship on bank accounts. This is something many people don't understand. Now, if you have a joint account, it means partner A owns 50%, partner B, I'm assuming it's husband and wife, obviously. So partner A owns 50%, partner B owns 50%. It's not a situation whereby something happened to partner A, partner B gets all the money, or vice versa. So the concept here is every person isn't having, say, a 50% share of the bank account. But the problem or the issue is once the bank is informed, they freeze the 100%. Now, in order to get the money unblocked, you need a court order. Then you go to the court to open up an inheritance file. So number one, all single and joint bank accounts are blocked. This is nothing I can do, but let me tell you one thing. The UAE is not the only country in the world that freezes bank accounts. You go to Kenya, you go to the Philippines, you go to Canada, South Africa, Israel too. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. It's good to know. Thank you very much. What I want you to understand, freezing of the bank accounts is there for a particular reason. For me, number one, to make sure all debts and liabilities are paid, because at the end of the day, you have to pay back whatever's owed to the bank or any third party. Number two, who are the legal heirs? Now, many people don't understand the concept of what is a legal heir in the first place. So if husband and wife is happily married and now they're divorced, now the wife can't be a legal heir or vice versa. So this is why the legal heirs are determined at the time of death as opposed to during your lifetime. Number two, I mean, this is just the bank accounts. Number two, all the dependent visas are also cancelled. This is something I can't help you with. Now, please don't confuse the laws that are being applied when a person passes away. Number three, to complicate matters further, your embassy is informed of your death. So imagine if you have for example, you have a bank account in Israel and you pass away here, the embassy will be informed. They'll send a message back to your home country. What will happen to your bank accounts in your home country? It's blocked. I cannot help you. Same thing, I've been dealing with a death case where a Canadian passed away here. His bank accounts are blocked here. The embassy was informed. In Canada, they froze all the bank accounts. Somebody asked me, why did the UAE freeze the accounts in Canada? So wait a minute, they did nothing. You check with the embassy, you check with the laws of your home country, they freeze bank accounts. Going to the visas, again, they're canceled. And then obviously the joint accounts are covered. Now I'm just going to go through down the list. Local law will be applied to the distribution of the estate. Local law, I'm talking about the Islamic law of inheritance. The money is split in the family. So if you have 100 dirham or 100 shares, I like to say, because the shares is everything you own, not only a bank account, it could be a company, it could be a car, it could be even a bond, stock, shares, anything split into 100 shares. If the husband is no more, and sorry, I'm putting emphasis on the husband passing away, not the wife, because in reality, the men pass away first, but that's a different topic. If the husband passed away, split his shares in 100, his mother and father would take 16.66 each, wife would take 12.5, balance 2 shares to the son, 1 share to the daughter. That's it. That's how it's split here. Now, every country has a law, whether it's good or bad, plus, minus. I tell everyone, every country has this system. This is a system here. However, you are able to make a will. Issue is people don't do it. And when they pass away, suddenly they're arguing with the courts, with the system, that your law shouldn't be applied. I say, wait a minute. If you buy a property in the UK and you don't make a will there, do you know you'll be subject to 40% inheritance tax? People don't know this. I just tell you that, guess what? You can avoid it by making a will. But do people listen, or do they understand this concept? No. I know I've only got a minute left, so I try to be quick. Life policies, everything's blocked. All investments are frozen, delayed. Family arguments. I cannot tell you the amount of family arguments there are. Suddenly, everyone's coming out the woodwork. You'll be surprised how many people are coming to claim whatever they can get their hands on. Ex-partners can end up staking their claim in your estate. Company shares can be frozen, issues with the current partners. Children shares could be reduced. It could be given to the wrong persons, and tax rate in IHT or 40% can be applied, but this only applies in countries where inheritance tax is applicable. If you have a will registered, it will expedite the distribution of your estate. Your wishes will be registered or honored locally. Your estate and life policies will pass to the people of your choice. End of service benefits are covered. All your investments will go to the right person. So especially if you are coming here having money that belong to someone else, and you want to make sure the money goes to the right person, this can be documented. No family disputes. Everyone knows what they're going to get. You can set up exclusion clauses to block any ex-partners or potential ex-partners. I'm sorry to say I've run out of time. I really not doing justice to this, but I will be here. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask me. And thank you very much again.
Muhammad, your information will go to everyone. They will be directly in touch with. It's a very important subject. Everyone understands that. Thank you so much. And the last speaker is Giles Gammon, who is the CEO, Bioplas Food Tech Limited. He's talking about Israeli innovation in food tech.
Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'm really happy to be here with you, and I really want to thank Kreston Menon to give us the opportunity to speak about food tech, and especially through Biomeat Food Tech, which is the company that I'm managing today. So I'm going to try to be brief because I understand that we have only a few minutes to speak, but I had a large presentation and I will be happy to share with you that, guys. Biomeat Food Tech is a public research and development partnership for food tech investment that it's traded since last March on the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange. And I have to say that I'm personally very happy this morning because when we have been going public, just a second, we have raised 20 million shekels. After that, we had an initial investment of 5 million shekels. So total of valuation of Biomeat Food Tech was 25 million shekel. And yesterday morning, we have reached, after less than 8 months, 125 million shekels, which means 5 times the initial investments. Okay, this is showing that Biomeat Food Tech strategy is going well. And I'm going to speak briefly about Biomeat Food Tech strategy. Okay, we are very concentrated in meat substitutes, cultured meats. Okay, we have a very large team of me and coming from the food industry. My chairman also has been running a very large, one of the largest food industry in Israel, which was Nestle, and we have also on board taking care about the investment regarding the stock exchange, very people with a lot of knowledge. We have invested really at the beginning in 3 incredible companies. 2 are dealing with the problem of protein coming from animal feed. Okay, we are really investing today on beef substitute coming from vegetal. One of the company is called Real Bite. Okay, Real Bite is going to be launching a new kind of vegetable protein in the beginning of 2022. What is the new? It's a clean product. That means all today what you have in this field. Okay, and this field is growing sharply every year. We can see what has done Beyond Meat and Impossible Food. This field is growing very sharply. We are coming with a new kind of vegetable protein, which is very, very, very tasty. I can assure you, I have tried it. And we see that it's going to be a kind of revolution in this market. But we have another company called More Alternative Food. More Alternative Food also giving a good solution to meat substitute, because this product is coming using waste from food industry, and they give a product that is giving a bite, and is very important. But I'm going to focus on what I think the stock exchange is really appreciating, what in terms of Biomeat Food Tech investment. We have a project called Metaphora, which is a common project with the Technion Institute in Israel. Technion Institute in Israel is one of the greatest institute that we have. This is run by Professor Makhlouf. We all understand that cultured meat is going to be very important in the next future. And we are here really advanced in the product, and we hope that we will bring in the years coming not only the cultured food meat, but also one part I cannot really say right now, but one part of the project will give a very big solution in what is going to be cultured. Last week, we have finalized a project with Volcani Institute on cultured fish, which is another kind of giving a solution to the world. We have quite a lot of project on cultured meat running in the world. Cultured fish is going to be the next issue that the food industry will need to deal with. And we are really happy that in Israel we have people that really advance in this field, and we are very happy that we have managed to set with them this this project on the mutual cooperation. What I wanted to say is that the fact that I'm here today is that all those projects, okay, will need quite a lot of money. So we will need to continue to raise investment. And I have to say that when I first spoke with Doron Rosenblum, and I had the chance to meet you at the beginning of the week, and we had spoke about potential dual IPO. Normally, you know, Israeli companies are running to NASDAQ in USA. Today, when you see that we are going to give a beef alternative, we are trying to see where the vegan people are more, and we see that the East, with in India and all those countries, are a more larger potential than the USA. And so we think that, and today when we see the place of Dubai, Abu Dhabi, really reaching the East and the West, I think that it can be a very good potential for us to be here. And I have to say that I was surprised to see the efficiency of Kreston that already has shown me this morning that what should be the way to go. And I'm sure that we are going to have the chance to look at that carefully together and to see if there is an opportunity. So thank you very much. And again, I hope that I have distributed one page that we have on BioMeat. If someone wants more, I will be happy to distribute it today. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Gilles Gammon, thank you so much. It's a very interesting business model. Food Tech Valley, a huge valley is being set up in Dubai. His Highness, with the Ministry of Economy, as well as Wassel, has launched the project, which is coming up soon. It will talk on the future of food tech and food tech companies here. That's the main point of attraction. So this is a very viable, very interesting product. Thank you. Dr. Sami Miari had to urgently travel yesterday night, so he's not here to speak on Islamic finance. So we end our session, the whole morning session today. Thank you so much for attending. I will call upon Doron to say a minute on a thank you note to all of you.
I just will take a minute, exactly a minute. I want to say thank you. Shukran, esteemed friends. Thank you very much, Mr. Menon, the chairman, Sudhir, the team, Mary, Elaine, and the rest of the team that I've worked with recently, Pushpan, of course. And thank you very much for the IDU, and would like...
And I would like to say thank you very much for your hospitality. And thank you very much also Kreston from Israel and also Kreston from EU.